Hey TCSTV viewers, it's Evelyn here coming to you from the camera store. Thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight for TCSTV Live, capturing skateboard action photography with ATIBA Jefferson, and this is sponsored by Canon Canada. And I gotta tell you, ATIBA's skateboarding photography is fantastic, and it has found its way onto the pages of international publications, and he's a staff photographer for Thrasher magazine. He also has a passion for basketball, and that's landed him a gig as a staff photographer for the LA Lakers during the Shaq and Kobe years, and he currently holds a record at Slam magazine for having the most publications of any single photographer in the publication's history, which I think is incredible. And his list of commercial clients are also unbelievable, including Supreme, Adidas, Nike, Converse, Reebok, ESPN, Gatorade, Mountain Dew, Oakley, Pepsi, and Netflix. So he gets around. And Canon Canada is sponsoring this event tonight. He's also done a work for Canon, and his partnership with the camera store, we're offering something special for you from Canon Canada. So if you've been thinking about buying Canon gear, you are in luck, because if you've registered for this event, we're going to email you a special offer after the event. And if you're just joining us live right now through YouTube, you can get my email in the description below, and we'll email you the offer tomorrow, as well as a survey about the event. And it's also Canon's Level Up sale right now at the camera store, and so you can check out all the details at thecamerastore.com and see all the great deals that they have just in time for Father's Day, for all the grads that are coming up, that are just graduating right now. And so it's a good time to buy a Canon camera. But there's a lot of work that's happening behind the scenes as well too. Of course, we have our TCS TV Dream Team, including Gary, Drew, Jeff, and Aaron behind the scenes tonight. And so thanks so much to them to make all this happen. But of course, this is live, and so let us know if you have any issues in the comments, and we can help you out. And if there's any glitches that happen, just hang tight. We'll update you in those comments and let you know if there's any issues. Lastly, I want to give you a couple different options to ask questions for ATIBA, and so you can either put them in the chat if you're logged into YouTube, or you can also just email me. I'll have my email open, and we'll collect questions for the Q&A at the end. My email address is evelyn@thecamerastore.com, and that's also in the description below. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on ATIBA. He's coming to us from LA, and welcome, ATIBA.
Hello, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Now, of course, before we get into skateboard photography, I wanted to ask you, because we're at the camera store, a little bit about what gear you're using right now. I heard that you were part of the launch for the Canon R5, and so I'm curious how it's going for you so far.
I love this setup right here. This is my R5. I have a couple of them. That's the 50 millimeter 1.2 lens. I think that lens is amazing. It was a lens I used for a majority of a cover I shot last year that was a focus on celebrating Black skaters. And we did 32 portraits for the cover of Thrasher. And that was my first use of the R5. And it was really cool to get the R5 before it came out. I am a explorer of light, so I have to thank the whole team over at Canon, Taylor, Rita, and Kevin, for getting me, on the team and starting me with the team, and to be able to talk to them about the camera before it comes out and just all the things with it. It's an amazing opportunity. It's a dream come true. I'm a camera nerd, and I really throughout my career has really changed due to technology and the product that I'm using. So, starting all the way in high school with 35 millimeter, and then doing a lot of stuff with medium format in the film days. That's what I was doing a lot of. And then going right into digital. It's in the closet. I should have broke it out, but I still have my first DSLR Canon EOS 1D. So, my relationship with Canon, my first Canon camera I got in 1995.
Wow.
So I've been shooting Canon for a really long time.
Awesome.
And I love it. And I think everything they really do pushes cameras. It pushes technologies, and we're really seeing it with the R5. I think Canon has done such a well job in the past of pushing their product and being the best on the market, but really with the R5, and it's just a dream come true. It's really like, I can't be more ecstatic with the features of it. The eye autofocus is amazing. The 20 frames per second is amazing. Being able to switch from mechanical to electric shutter is amazing. But I really love the glass. The RF glass is so good
It's
and
so
so
nice, yeah.
amazing. It's so sharp. It's a lot lighter. It's the focus is so much sharper. I mean, I was shooting today tethered, and I was a lot of times working with the people I work with, whether it's skaters or athletes, they don't really want to be photographed. And so it's really good to be fast. And the R5 gives me that ability. But I'm shooting, and it's, what's so great about it is 45 megapixels. So the chip is great, the image is great, but I'm tethered. And I already know my Digitech's going to tell me if I have a problem with my focus, and it's never there. I mean, it's like unbelievably sharp and fast. The technology that goes into those lenses
Awesome.
is
Well, it's
amazing.
so great to hear, and it's awesome that Canon brought you on board for the launch, because I think that camera is such a perfect fit for the work that you do. And I know everyone's really excited to hear about how you got into your main passion, which is skateboard photography. So did you want to tell us a little bit about that history?
Yeah. Well, should I go slideshow?
Yeah, let's get into
I'll
it.
go slideshow. I'll go back. Does it matter if I go back and forth?
No,
Okay, cool. Do a little bit of both.
a little bit of both, yeah.
Let's see if that shared. Tell me.
Yeah, it looks good.
So this is me as a baby.
Oh my gosh.
That's me.
We're
I'm an
going way back.
identical. Yes, I'm an identical twin. Just so everyone knows, if you see someone who looks like me, it's not me. This is me in high school in 8th grade. So in 8th grade, I discovered punk rock and skateboarding, and it really changed my life. Skateboarding, it was one of those things that showed me so many things. It showed me art, it showed me culture, it showed me friendship. Um, Skateboarding just taught me everything, and it was an addiction. It was a passion. It was the first time in my life that there was something I gravitated to that I wanted to put all my energy into. So it led me into, my best friend. This guy, Josh Wildman, is a great photographer. He was a skate photographer. And in skateboarding, you're reading magazines. Thrasher magazine was the magazine. The pages are on my wall. So, this is the 80s, 1989. So we don't have the internet. So everything is print. It's a picture. It means so much. You just sat there and studied it. It wasn't a swipe or anything. It wasn't a zoom in. It was actually like looking. So I fell in love with photography through skateboarding magazines. And I was in high school. I needed to take an art elective, and I got in a fight with my brother and broke my hand. That's a whole nother story. But I picked up a camera because my friend Josh did it, so I thought it was cool. And I instantly fell in love in the darkroom. When I saw a print being made, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew that was my thing, like skateboarding. That was what I wanted to trial and error and learn. Skateboarding is all about, I don't ever say failing because I don't believe in failure. If you learn from something, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. So in skateboarding, that's what we do. We constantly just try a trick, figure out how to do it. And that's what I did with photography. I was really like, okay, if this is out of focus, why? Or if the lighting is this way, why? Or, just all the questions that led me to making a better photo is like all the things I did to learning a skateboard trick, like how to kickflip. So I was in high school and I just, I was a junior, took a basic photo class my senior year. I just kept doing it and I really loved it. And then when I was 18, I had done 1 year community college and I just moved to California with my brother. We didn't really have a plan. I never planned to be here doing this. This was never the goal. I never thought, I was like, hey, if I'm skateboarding in California and working at 7-Eleven, I'm good. I was fine with that. And then I got a really amazing opportunity to work at Transworld Skateboarding, assisting Grant Britton, the photo editor. And that was huge for me. And one lesson I will always say in conversations like this is, if you can't afford photo class, assisting is actually the best thing you can do because it's basically free school. So I was assisting Grant, and he's one of the greatest skate photographers there is. And that opened my whole world. And that taught me so much about lighting a skateboard photo, working with the skater, working with the company, all the things that we use now, all the things that I use now. So that was a really, really huge stepping stone. And this is in the film days. So it was the learning experience was very delayed because you'd wait a day to get your film back. Like nowadays with digital, it's so amazing because it's like you look at the screen and go, okay, that shadow is off. Okay, you couldn't do that in the film days. You'd be like, I messed up. We kind of have to reshoot. So it was a really great opportunity, and I also really think the fact that I learned at that point of time what photography with film really made what I do now so much better. My foundation is really good because I have to pay attention to things. I find that I pre-visualize what my lighting, especially commercial stuff, but that's also with skateboarding, right? Like when you shoot skateboarding with flashes, it's really like being in a studio, I always say. Mm-hmm. You are in the outdoor studio, but you're in the studio. And, flashes are everything because you don't pre-light with skateboarding. You don't know what the spot is. Like shooting skateboarding is just like going out with your friends and, hopefully they get a photo. Hopefully they get a trick, So you never know. There could be a car in the way. There could be, you're going to get kicked out. It could be overcast. It could be sunny. So you kind of, shooting skateboarding really prepares you for all situations. So when I do a commercial shoot in the studio with 4 assistants and a digitech and a lighting, team and photo briefs and everything like that, it makes my life really easy compared to, getting in a van and going, hey, let's just see what happens. But I also love the improv of skate photography because it's so fun to be creative. It's really one of those things that, as an artist, you really love to do, and since I got the R5, I've noticed my photography change over a year, and I think that's great. Like I never want to do the same thing. I never want to have the same look. I always kind of want to have a different look and approach to photography because I don't know. I don't think I get bored, but I'm just hungry for something new. And I really loved it. I have it right here. And they got me these early too. That was another really fun thing that Canon did for me was the EL1s.
Nice.
flashes. I really love these. And what I use, you know, to really get the stop, what I do, I have brackets, but for you skate photographers on this, and I hope everyone sticks around for questions after. But I like Velcro them together because, as you'll see when we get through this slideshow, when I talk about photos and how to like them, you never can have enough flash. So I think right now is a good time to start my slideshow, right? Anything else?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions you wanted to add to it right now? Everybody stick around for the end. I'll answer any question.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, we'll keep the questions for the end, and yeah, you can go ahead and show your slideshow.
Give me 1 second. So rookie at Zoom. Share screen. Here we go. Is it, do you see my Lightroom?
Yes.
Cool. 1 second. So this is a picture of Grant Taylor. And as you will see, shadows are the funnest thing in skateboarding photography. I love when I'm able to have a wall to cast that shadow. And what I really love to do is trap lighting. There's a gang of 2 flashes on the right, and then on the left there's 2. This is shot. What I really love about the R5 and the EL1, and you'll see it's kind of a very consistent setting that I shoot, is the ability to sync at high speed. And this is at 1/2000th of a second. This is f7.1, and it's 400 ISO. I really love that the R5 has really low noise and grain at 400 ISO still. Whereas, you know, back in the day, you would notice that grain. But I feel like the latitude between 100 and 400 is very not noticeable. So I love to be able to push it so I get a little more f-stop. I also, on this photo, am using the 15 millimeter fisheye that is EF that I've had for, I think, about, 18 years maybe. So I really love the adapter that comes with the R because it enables me to use my older lenses that I think are great. I really only use the fisheye because I love the newer lenses. I'm using the 2870 2.0, which is actually what I'm using for my webcam. And I also have the 70 to 200 to 8, which I love, RF. But the fact they don't have a fisheye yet, you know, I'm able to use this adapter. This picture, what I also love is actually currently, and that's low res and was not supposed to look like that, but that's the new cover of Thrasher that's out right now. So I'm already able to have images as a cover with the R5 and the EL1. This is an example. This is Grant awing his daughter, which was crazy. But what I really love, and you'll see what this is available light. This is the R5 with the 70 to 200 lens. And I'm pretty far back and all the way to 200. So I really compact the depth of field. And this is shot at 2.8. And the great thing about this is the autofocus tracking, because his daughter was actually moving around, which was amazing. He was able to ollie her like this. And you'll see it in a new Nike video that's on thrasher.com, plug. But I was able to just track Grant. And I actually used the iFocus tracking. And the funny thing, it didn't go for the car or her. It found Grant perfectly. So, you know, right there alone. And I shot this 20 frames per second with the high-speed motor drive. So I could just pick the peak action. And that's what's amazing with the R5. Being 20 frames per second, nothing is missed. That's what's so great about it. It's like that whole time, nothing is missed. So, you know, being able to shoot at 2.8, have that super low depth of field, it's an amazing thing. And this is the RF lens 70 to 200. This is another fun one from that shoot before. You know, this gives you a little more perspective of how high he went. But knowing, you know, that I'm going against the sun, it's right there on the top. But using flashes to light an overall scene, I was able to light, you know, with 4 EL1s, the car and the skater. So they really, to me, have broken through in making a flash that can light a big scene. And this being fisheye, it's a lot to cover. Here's a photo of Paul Rodriguez. And the difference between this is like this Grant one, the sun is behind him. So that's a different lighting, right? This is full sunlight. So, you know, the sun is overhead. And here, once again, you know, the fisheye, that's kind of the staple in skate photography too, because with skate photography, we really like to show everything. We like to show where they're coming from, which is the top stair on the left, and where they're going to, which is the bottom, the landing on the right. So that's why the fisheye is really good, because it brings a big area just compacted to one. And you're able to keep the skater pretty big, so it's prominent, so it's recognizable. Here's one that I really love. This is Oski, like on a stormy day. And what I did with this was, you know, I wanted the clouds to open up a little bit. I wanted the scene, I wanted a kind of little more dreamy light situation. So, you know, I went still 2000th, but I opened up and powered down my flashes. You know, the other photos, which I left out, were all shot at full power. So sometimes I'll stop down to half power, still stay at 2000th of a second, and give a little more ambient light to come through. So with flash photography and ambient light and skateboarding, those are things you really want to pay attention how to control, because both offer a different scene. They both offer, you know, a different vibe. This one is super basic, and I used all 4 of my EL1s on full power, and that was to really darken that sky behind them. It's evening, so the sun is a little bit further down, but this is just Deshaun, and he's just alling over me. This is 2000th f8 400. And the funny thing about this picture is I actually used my phone with Canon Connect to trigger it. So, you know, using Canon Connect as the app on your phone, it's amazing. I use it all the time for so many different things. And that's another thing that Canon has done really well, is not only make a great camera, but the software and tools that we need to use it. So, you know, if you need a self timer, you know, you got that Canon Connect to use it. Here's another picture of Oski, and this is later in the evening, and another use of mixing the ambient to get those dark clouds up there. And another thing I want to talk about with skateboarding is timing. Timing is everything in action photography, knowing when the peak action is. And you don't always have to be a skater. I think it does help, because me being a skater, I know these tricks. You know, tricks in skateboarding are like a whole nother language. It's hard to understand. But, you know, this trick, I knew where to capture the peak moment. and you see it with that that foot curved and everything in what he's doing. So, you know, with skateboarding, it's good to know the tricks. It's good to know the angles, and you know, there's multiple angles. You'll see I use a fisheye a lot, but I also love long lens. You know, it's a totally different look and feel in skateboarding. You know, I always say there are no rules. You can shoot anything any way you want and create drama with it. If you look on here on the left, I have this flash against these vines to create that shadow on it. It really opens it up and offers like a whole different type of lighting. I like shadows on one side. So if you see on the left side of the skater, it's pretty hot, but then on the right side, it's dark. And I just think that adds drama, which is something that I really like. When I was talking about other things that I do and that I've done with the R5, I wanted to include basketball. This is, you know, a game that was actually some of the first games they let media in during this last year. So this is one of the first games with no crowd, which is kind of crazy because you see it in the background, which normally these photos you see a full crowd. Basketball photography changed my life. I want to talk about that for a little bit because I had an amazing opportunity to assist Andy Bernstein. And Andy Bernstein is the Laker and Clipper team photographer. And in 2000, I joined his team of assistants and started working for the NBA. And it was a huge opportunity. I learned so much about action that I thought I had already known. I learned so much about photojournalism and telling a story and like getting moments like this where it's not necessarily always about the dunk or the kickflip. It's about the moments that happen in between in photography and with your subject, you know. And I never thought about that at first because I was always so concerned with getting the perfect action photo. And Andy taught me so much. He taught me about the strobes that are in the arena. These are actually all shot available light. You know, I did a 400 EF with the adapter R5 on all of these. So, you know, that really is like a staple in basketball photography, obviously due to everything going on, not allowed to sit on the court. So we have to bring a lot of glass and, you know, I really love that Canon 400 glass. This I wanted to talk about because this was my last slam cover and this was an amazing opportunity. It's J. Cole, and this was a really cool thing we shot in North Carolina, a really great idea and concept that Slam Magazine had. This is super simple. This is just available light. This is my 2870. You know, I like to leave it all the way open, and you know, it's yeah, simple lighting. A lot of times, you know, someone who shoots a lot of flash, and I love my flashes. There are times when simple totally works as well. So, you know, I wanted to include, you know, having shot over 100 covers of Slam, some Slam magazine. So here's a bowl photo, and I wanted to talk about this in skateboarding. You could, you know, let me get out of this real quick. The biggest thing is cropping, right? You could crop this out and just show the skating, but that's not good. This is the way we like it. We like to see the edge of the bowl where the magnifying glass is right here, because that gives that reference point. And peak action. This is a 1 foot ollie and I'm catching him at peak action. This is actually the first session that I had EL1s on. And I was so excited, and you can see we're battling the sun, and we're winning. So, you know, that is one of those things where I really, really love what the EL1s do. There's a doubles photo, another fun thing in skateboarding, and another use of timing, right? Like timing is everything. And when you have to shoot two skaters doing two simultaneous tricks over each other and make sure you get the perfect timing, it's really hard. And any of you skate photographers out there, whenever I shoot doubles in a bowl, if you ever get the opportunity, which is very rare because only the very best do stuff like this because it's very dangerous. I actually, trick tip, I actually look at the skater who's doing the grind trick and shoot his peak action, because usually at that point, the person airing over them is doing it. And that took me many, many years to figure out. Here's another one of Oski, another fisheye one, but this is fisheye from a different angle. Instead of being on the top of the lip, I'm actually in the transition, which I think gives another creative, different way of shooting skating, another perspective. It's all about being creative and trying to find another perspective. This is my second session with the EL1s. This is Tony Hawk, a stale fish. You know, really essential to get him in the sky and get him looking as high as he possibly can. It's always an honor to shoot the best. I feel very lucky in my career to have shot Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, but then you name skaters, Tony Hawk, Eric Costin, Andrew Reynolds. And one amazing thing that I will say about photography is that you build relationships. Working with these people, you build friendships. 70% of photography is social skills. 30% is actually knowing how to take the picture. And I know that sounds crazy, but in this field, if you're cool on set and you're cool working with other people, that's when you get the call back. You want to take a great photo, that helps. But honestly, you know, I always say photo shoots, so many things always go wrong. And when you are able to deal with those situations, people appreciate that, and you're really easy to work with. And, you know, Tony's been someone I've been shooting since 95. He's been a huge influence on my life. He's done so much for me. So, you know, I'm always so honored to work with him and still have a really long going relationship with him still. So I had to include him in this. This is Ish. This is another prime example of that shadow on the wall. And that's something that I really, really, really like. I call it shadow boxing, and I think it offers a great dynamic. If you also notice, I never really shoot on camera flash. I usually have it around because that direct on camera flash a lot of times makes it really hot. Now, I think there's some cool situations to do that, but that's more when you're shooting directly on a wall. This I wanted to talk about slow shutter and night photography. Slow shutter is such a fun thing to play with. And with this is probably, I don't know, I would say this is probably like exposure wise, I would probably say this is, let me look actually. One second. So,
ATIBA.
oh, was my camera going the whole time while I'm doing that?
Just now.
Oh, did my screen share? Is it still going?
We can still see your screen. Yeah, you're good. Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay. Sorry, everyone. I so back to it. So yeah. So this is 1 second. F8 15 millimeter 320. So, you know, you can do your camera on tripod to have it very, you know, the lights perfectly still, or I really love just getting that swirl. It's like one of the funnest things in night photography. Um, Here's one of Sean Malto. Another one, flip tricks, you know, talking about flip tricks. Timing is everything. It's really one of those things when you're shooting skateboarding or anything, you really want to know about your subject and the activity in any kind of action photography, whether it was dancing, whether it was golfing, football, you want to know what that peak moment is. And with this one with Sean, it's really, you know, the catch of the switch frontside flip. So, you know, I can't, you know, stress enough, know your subject and know what they do. And also take a look around. You know, this one is Ben K, um, Ollie in this pole in New York City. And what I found, this person sleeping is not with us on the right hand side here, but I just loved that. I don't know all my bridges great, but I think this is Williamsburg Bridge. But I was like, I could have just shot this with just cropped in on Ben, and I think it would have been a good photo, you know, like if I had cropped it something like, where's my crop tool? If I had cropped it like this, right? That would have been a cool skate photo, you know. To me, that's like, oh, that's a standard, the action's big, you know, but then again, to me, that's a better story. So, you know, I always say take a look around and see what's going on, you know. This photo here is, those are those moments that I always say try and capture those, you know. This is Knock and Tyshawn, you know, trying to get him psyched up to get his trick. So it's always cool to grab those moments. Those moments over time are really so valuable. This photo, this is one of my favorites. This is one of the early R5 photos that I shot, and it has the craziest sunset clouds. And this is the moment I knew this camera was great, because you can see the different color range. You know, this was unfortunately when the fires were happening in LA, so it's not good clouds, but this is during the day. So we were having a really crazy lighting day, and you see it. This is actually blue sky. Those are the clouds. The sun's hitting it from behind. I just flashed down. I mean, it is later in the day, but this color range to me is just unbelievable with this camera. And, you know, I was talking about the shoot I did for Thrasher, but this is it. This is just available light, and I just love everything about the 51.2. It's my favorite. Open up all the way, but everybody out there, if you're an action shooter, shoot portraits. I can't stress it enough. Like, portraits are such a crucial thing. And, you know, here's another cityscape shot. Always try to look around. You know, one of the most interesting things about street skating and skate photography is like, you will see a city by just going out and skateboarding. I think that's one of the coolest things about what I do. And over the years, I've seen every city by means of my skateboard. And if you really take a look around and shoot these pictures, you'll have these amazing cityscapes from just being able to be around these cities. So, you know, skateboard photography will open your eyes to so many things. And it's also really, to me, amazing people from all walks of life, you know, amazing opportunities, amazing culture. and just like an amazing way to see so many different things. And for photography, it's really amazing because you never know the situation you're going to have. So that's I feel good on our slideshow. How do you feel?
Awesome. Yeah, we have some questions coming in. Do you have more on your slideshow, or you want to get into it?
Let's get into it because questions are my favorite.
Awesome. Yeah, so everyone can keep sending their questions in the chat. I also have a bunch coming in through email, so I'll go back and forth between both of those. But to get things started, how much pre-planning do you have to go into a skate shoot? Do you know kind of what your vision is going into it, or do you kind of just let it flow and see what happens?
It depends. It's maybe 50-50 in the sense of like, we all know spots. So a lot of times skaters will be like, hey, I want to try this weekend. Then I get a chance to like think about what they're going to try. And I get a chance to go, oh, okay, well, if we're going to El Toro, skaters out there know what I'm talking about. I'll go, oh, let me think about that. Like, he's going to try backsmith. Maybe I'll be fisheye. So there is some. But a lot of times it'll be like, hey, I have this spot when we're already at a spot and you've never been to that spot. So I would say it's like 50-50.
And you're mentioning fisheye lenses quite a bit, and we noticed that a lot of the images don't seem to have a ton of distortion. Can you talk a little bit about your composition using fisheye lenses, and if you do any kind of corrections in post to deal with some of that curvature?
No. I'll actually go back to one photo for that question. This photo of Sean Malto, you'll see where have the cursor above. That's really distorted, or this one of Grant, you see the whole landscape is kind of like circular. But the one thing that's a little tough about skating is, this photo of Deshaun, that's fisheye. But the distortion isn't that bad on fisheyes, really, when you think about it. But you see more distortion on wider angle lenses, like corrected 14s, where it really stretches. And that's the thing about fisheye, it kind of can keep your arms to perspective. That's why we use it. But a lot of times in my photography, why you don't see that is really because I don't get too close. Like skateboarding back in the day when the tricks were on smaller curbs and ledges, you really saw it. But now skateboarding is like 12 stairs, so I need to move back and show all 12 of those stairs. So I never really get a chance to get super close to get that crazy distortion. I like to. It's very dangerous because you can get hit, and I've been hit, and my cameras have been hit a lot.
Oh yeah, that was actually one of my questions, is if you've had situations where either you or your camera has been injured, and if you had any tips for learning from that.
Oh yeah, I've been hit in the face before. Probably my craziest one, I wasn't even taking pictures, and I was walking up a ladder of a vert ramp, and I was about 12 feet off the ground. And I just didn't, I wouldn't have known. I probably shouldn't have been climbing a ladder when someone was skating. Someone kicked the board out and hit me, and I almost fell off the ladder, which would have been bad. But I had like the biggest knot on my head and a concussion. So yeah, I've taken my licks for sure.
All right, question from the chat here from Caroline. My main struggle is shooting in public and around people. I still do it because it's something I love, but in the end, I don't get the results I wanted because I was stressed during the shoot. Any tips for, I guess, just being around people, being around sometimes like those busy skate environments where lots is going on?
You just have to black out and focus on your own thing. You really have to know, like, don't let that distract what you're doing, but I feel you. I did a shoot yesterday. I was shooting some stuff at two skate parks, and then we went to a street spot all by ourselves, and I was like, thank you. So what I would say is try and meet some skaters at the skate park, and because she said she was shooting skating, right?
Yeah, shooting, skating.
Yeah,
But yeah,
meet some skaters and be like, hey, I want to shoot some photos, not in a skate park. Those are going to be funner anyways for you.
yeah. And actually, we have a comment from Brad McMillan, who's from the area, and
Local
he was saying,
talent.
oh, but he was saying maybe you should come and do some storm chasing and combine skate with storm
No way.
chasing.
That
And
stuff.
we have big storms in Alberta.
I'm so sorry. That stuff freaks me out. But I want to shout out to my very good friend. Everyone should follow him on Instagram, Keith Lucinski. He's an amazing Nat Geo photographer, amazing skater, amazing skate photographer, and he does storm chasing. And I see that stuff, I'm like, I'm good. That's why I live in California. I know we got to worry about earthquakes, but and
Yeah.
fires. But
So
I
what's
like
the
to.
name again? We can maybe shout it out in the comments if my team can find
Oh,
it.
Keith Lazinski.
Okay, yeah, we'll put it in the comments here so you guys can check them out. Another question we have here is, what is the longest telephoto length that you shoot? That's from Nick Collins.
I'm gonna shoot the Clipper game on Saturday, and I'll use a 600 millimeter.
Nice. Okay. See what else we have here. Oh, Sony Jones says, have you messed around with small strobes for more power and a smaller footprint than two speed lights? Profoto B10, Godox 8300, anything like that?
Oh yeah, I've tried it all.
Yeah, and do you go
Yeah,
back to the Canon speed lights and the
yeah,
Velcro?
yeah. Well, I've always used Canon speedlights, and I've used the other companies for sure. But right now, I'm just loving that. That's all I need. I think the quality light on the EL1 is a lot better than Godox. I think the quality of light on the EL1 is amazing. It's like
Cool.
so.
And can you tell us a little bit about when you're Velcroing the flashes together and how you're using them, where you're placing them?
Like why I do that?
Yeah.
I do that for power. I group them together for power because I also am a studio dude. So I'm using Broncolor and Profoto that are, 2,400 watts. So I'm used to 24 EL1s basically, right? So, and that's one pack. I have a job tomorrow where I have 10 Pro 10 packs. So I like to light things up, and ganging them together gives me that ability. I mean, if it's, I actually have two more EL1s coming because lately I've been like, I want six.
Nice.
So, but I just love the ability to control it from the. I always forget the number. The SR2. Too many numbers. I love this. The ST-E3. Hanero, if you're out there. That just ability to control the power, set my flashes in any places, and then be able to control it's amazing. So, that it's all about power with flash photography, and ganging the EL1s together gives me that much power. If I'm shooting at night, I could get away with two, no problem. But during the day, to get that dark sunlight and to be at 2,000ths of a shutter, I need a lot of light.
Andrew Watts was wondering, can you speak a little bit about the switch from film to digital and how that's impacted the way you shoot skateboarding photography?
I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
First of all, cost. Shooting sequences, you would get 3 tries per roll. So you got to think about that. Most skaters make something after 20 tries, and that's actually pretty quick. I would shoot, we call it a brick. It was 20 rolls like that. So, you know, film alone, I used to waste so much film. Environmentally, it's probably really bad what I did. Luckily, I only did it for 6 years. But, you know, I love film. I still shoot film. I have my, A1 Canon. You know, it's just, that's what I love.
What kind of
But
film do you like?
probably 400 Portra, but I also love 3200 T-Max too.
Nice. Do you
Those
do
are
any
two.
developing, or are you sending
I
out?
I mean, I know how. I have a whole closet full of prints, but I haven't hit the dark room in years. But I still know how to do it. You know, it's like riding a bike. It's no problem. I was really into printing color as well. So I did everything, you know. But developing film, loved it, but the chemicals kind of stressed me out in
Yeah.
my own house. I had a dark room in my basement and when I was younger, and it's just like I don't want that. I actually in my house I have a room that is technically a dark room where it has no windows, but yeah, it's just too much.
Fair enough. Les was wondering if you shoot raw and if you can talk about
I'll talk
some
about
some of the
that. Only
settings that
raw.
you use. What's that?
Only raw.
Only raw.
Only raw. Like this is what's crazy in photography. I went to drop film off. There's a new lab a friend told me about, and they were like, "Do you want your negatives?" And I was like, "Duh!" Like what? Like people? She's like, "Oh, probably over 50% don't keep their negatives." The woman next after me, she said, "Nah, I don't need my negatives." I'm like, photography is all about having these moments safe and protected. Like, I go through so much hard drive space because I double up. Like, shout out to G Drive because they take care of me. And I use their shuttle raid system. All of you, please protect your assets. Back them up on back them up on two hard drives and put key selects on the cloud. I use Dropbox to back up all my stuff in the cloud. Please do that. And yeah, shoot raw.
Hmm.
Uh, hard drive space isn't even that much, you know, like JPEG, there's no advantage to shooting JPEG. But I don't want to yell at you. I sound like I'm yelling.
That's
Calmer
very,
than
yeah,
that.
you're being very gentle, but uh, Tyler Tanner sent us a question and
Tyler.
said he's a big fan of your work in Trans World Cinematographer. Do you still do film skating, and do you use your R5 to shoot any video?
I like that because I should have mentioned that earlier. Thank you, Tyler. That was a long time ago. But yes, I actually just did a music video. It's on YouTube um, with Kevin Spanky Long for Matt Sweeney and Bonnie Prince Billy. We did it over this last 6 months. And I filmed them and I used my R5. And I don't film skating that much anymore because it's so gnarly. It's like you got to either shoot it or film it. But I used the R5 and I had such a great time. So yes, the R5 is great. I film a lot of things with it. I film a lot of concerts. I'm doing a little series for Impulse Records where we just use three R5s. The R5 has great video capabilities.
Awesome. A question for, I guess, your opportunity that you had that really changed your photography career, assisting for the Lakers. How did that opportunity come about, and do you have any tips about finding someone to assist, or, getting yourself out there to assist? And that's from Trent.
Well, now you have social media. I didn't have social media back then. So now you're just a DM away from usually connecting to who you want to work with. Not saying that's always going to work, you know. I actually have a team of assistants that I really like, so it's hard for me to bring in other assistants, but I do, you know, and I try to. I really want to try and help, but I just got really lucky, you know. But it was one of those things when I got the opportunity to work with Andy, I worked as hard as I could and sacrificed a lot and showed him that, and that was able to help my career build. Hard work pays off and all of this stuff.
And then, do you have any tips for being a good assistant? Like, what do you think set you apart
Yes,
when you're being an assistant?
100%. I think if I was an assistant now, I would be the best. Because when I was an assistant, I was still good. But the best tip for an assistant is be 2 steps ahead of the photographer. Once you get to being a good assistant, know if I'm gonna hire the if we have a shoot, I'm like, hey, we have a shoot on Thursday. As soon as that is, go, hey, what's the equipment order? What are we shooting? What's your lighting idea? Being just 2 steps ahead, never really being late, because the photographer is always late. I'm always late to every shoot I do. But if my assistant and my teams are there, it's okay for me to be late. All the way to like, hey, here's a Sharpie, being, oh, you need another battery? Don't worry, the batteries are already charging. It's the little things specifically that I think really make great assistants. And just being willing to work hard, stay focused on what that job is, and, making the photographer as comfortable as they can be, because their job is to make the client comfortable. Their job is to make the subject comfortable. So the photographer always carrying a lot of weight of keeping the whole situation really calm, because shooting stuff like I shoot, it gets really intense, and especially nowadays when there's a lot of asks for one person. I shot a legendary basketball player today, and it was a very tense shoot. I was just able to focus, shoot quick, be efficient, and hand him over to the video team. And everyone's like, oh, you were great. And it's like, well, I know if I take a long time, or if I'm stressed out because everything's not going my way, you're going to feel that energy, right? The subject's going to feel that energy and not have fun. So, as an assistant, you really want to be able to know that energy and, just make everything really smooth. Never second question the photographer.
Yeah. And you talked a lot about capturing the moments in between and how you learned that while you were assisting. I'm wondering if there was any moments that you can think of in particular that kind of changed your focus from really going after the action, following the ball, and being able to capture some of those special in-between moments.
I mean, really, it wasn't one moment. It's always the moments you're looking for. And you can even preconceive that. Like that photo of LeBron with the chalk, I knew he was going to do that. I follow him.
You've been there.
But it was really the moment there was like a big dunk, Kobe done a big dunk, and a whole bench erupted. And I saw Andy shooting. I was like, why aren't you back to the game? He's like, dude, look I just got like all these dudes celebrating and being so excited. I was like, the light bulb went off. I was like, oh, that's such a cool photo.
Yeah.
It's not always about the dribble.
Yeah, and actually that photo in particular that you showed and several others, I noticed that you use a lot of negative space. Is part of that with the intention of thinking about magazines and like placing copy and things like that? Do you factor that into your composition?
I just love negative space. I actually hate copy on my photos.
Yeah.
Besides a cover, right? But I just think it creates, it creates a feeling, it creates a mood. If that was just cropped on LeBron, you wouldn't feel like he's looking up to the sky.
Yeah, definitely. Getting back to some of the chat questions, Andrew Watts had a follow-up question about film. And he said that he's noticing a lot of skaters and younger folks in general are really getting into photography through film. And we're certainly seeing that at the camera store as well. It's become huge. Like we're selling a lot more film than we have in the last few years. What do you think is driving this analog renaissance among all the young skater folk?
I think because film, you can never, I use filters. I'll be the first one to admit it, but there's still nothing like film. Film is also, it's magical.
Yes.
You can see it. Also, people really love, this is no diss, but you can get a nice point and shoot and put a roll of film in, click it, and not know what you're doing and be like, oh, that's amazing. So there's that. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's people who are buying nice 35 millimeters, A1s and stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, most people are using them as point and shoots. But it's a cool look, and I love it. I hope we can get Canon to make some point and shoots. because
Yeah, hopefully, if Canon's listening, maybe we can convince them to start coming out with some new
oh, I
point
tell them all
shoot
the time.
cameras. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, camera stores here, a lot of them are sold out of 400 portrait. Like, it's hard to get. Like, I sent an assistant out to get some. It's like, dude, it's sold out everywhere. I was like, what?
Yeah, yeah. And actually, here's another question about just tangible photography. So, I mean, you talked about film being magical. What's your feeling about prints? And have you had any thoughts about putting a gallery show together of some of your work?
Oh,
Is
I
that
love
something
prints.
that's in your future?
You can see it in the background right there. My Canon Pro 1000 is amazing. I love having that printer. I love being able to make prints for my friends when they're here. Anyone who comes to my house gets like a free print, and it looks amazing. I mean, that camera is the same feelings I would get, because when you print color, it comes out of a machine, right? Versus a darkroom with a tray. Same quality. I'm just like, this looks great. I love it. I have a project with a furniture company here in LA called Modernica, which I'm going to do in a show with them in September, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, I did these cubes. Like, when I do a show, I really want to do it. So I did these big light cubes that were 6 feet tall. That was the last show I did. But with everything going on in the world right now, I'm not really in a hurry to do a show.
Yeah.
We'll let everything kind of
Wait till
chill
more
out.
people can come to see the show.
Yeah, but
We're
I
getting
do
there.
I do have an idea for outdoor. So yeah, I'm really excited to get back to that, because I do love showing shows. I'm really trying to focus, because I've never done a book, on doing a book, and also just the day to day, trying to get it the best skating I can for Thrasher.
Cool. Well, you have to keep us posted on your book, because at the camera store we have a massive bookstore. I'm sitting
I
in the
can
book
see that.
area right now, so we'd love to get you on the shelf.
Cool, I would be honored.
Yeah, well, and I'm just gonna wrap it up here with, we have a few more email questions that have come in, and then if you guys have any last minute things, put them in the chat, and then we'll just we'll keep going for a few more minutes. So, do you have any tips on post processing, and can you talk about what you're using to edit your photos and what your workflow looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I use Lightroom. I'm a Lightroom person. I love Lightroom. It's just always kind of been my thing. Uh, I love Adobe products. I love Photoshop. Um, I really have learned to, I know Lightroom eats up hard drive space, so you got to kind of know how to manage the catalogs. But a lot of people work in Bridge, and I prefer to work in Lightroom. I process out in Lightroom, I bring it into Photoshop, and then kind of work through whatever it might be, dodging and burning. I'm not the best post person. I'm not a really good Photoshop person. I know how to make things look good and to the place I like them, but a lot of times I love to give that to a retoucher. So Jimmy, Digitech and retoucher I work with does great stuff, and a lot of times the client handles all that stuff, but my skating stuff I do myself.
And it sounds like you don't do like a ton of post processing. Do you keep it
No,
pretty
I
pretty
used to
close in
do that
camera?
when that was a look.
Yeah.
2007 or 8, I just called it, like, I overcooked the file. I had a really tacky phase that I look back at and didn't age well. So being someone who came from film, I like to keep it in that world, but I'm not scared of a digital photo. I mean, digital's so sharp and the detail is so great. Like the R5 is just so razor sharp, and it's crazy when I do shows that show my history of photography, and I have like a 35 millimeter slide. compared to an R5 image, oh, it's crazy how sharp digital is.
Okay, well, I'm going to save this as the last question.
Last
But for the mid 90s premiere, do you have a fun story you can tell us before you leave? I remember seeing an article back in the day.
Mid 90s, the Jonah Hill film?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a great film. The premiere was, well, actually, I didn't go to the premiere. I went to the screening because the premiere was at the skate park, Santa Monica courthouse. So yeah, I didn't go to the premiere. I went to the screening, which was really cool. I love all the kids from mid 90s. They're just like little brothers to me and sisters. Jonah is a great person. I love Jonah. I think he did a great job. And the screening was really fun. It was cool to see it before everyone else did.
Nice. So yeah, just to wrap everything up, where can people find more of your work? You're on Instagram.
Instagram is probably where I'm most active. ATIBA Photo. And my website doesn't get updated probably once a year, which is really bad. But yeah, Instagram. I'm very active.
Instagram. Sounds good. Yeah, so make sure you follow ATIBA on Instagram. We just put his link and handle in the comments. And be sure to hit our subscribe button if you're enjoying these live talks. We've been having a lot of great guests. It's been so fun to have ATIBA on with us. Learned a lot about skate photography action. And of course, thanks to Canon Canada for sponsoring and connecting us. I like that shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, Uniglow collabo. It's amazing. Being an explorer of light, I'm like love wearing any Canon gear I can get. So I like troll the internet for vintage Canon.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everyone. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and we'll catch you again very soon.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for tuning in.